Sierra has all the best active and outdoor brands you need. From athletic stuff, like a full court pickup game, swish, to athletic-ish stuff, like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. And for morning hikes up the mountain trail, good pace. To nighttime ghost stories from the camping chair. What a twist. Whatever level of active, Sierra loves it all. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athletic-ish, Sierra's got it.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Break through the busiest time of year with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus. Powered by Peloton IQ. With real-time guidance and endless ways to move, you can personalize your workouts and train with confidence, helping you reach your goals in less time. Let yourself run, lift, sculpt, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
For those who know that questioning everything includes questioning this show's existence. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hollywood, TV, and movies, they used to rely on scene-stealing dogs, heroic horses, the occasional bear, and definitely monkeys. These animals were in and they acted with humans. But in the age of CGI, are animal actors becoming extinct? That is the question we're about to answer here with media and culture studies professor at the College of Staten Island, CUNY in New York, Cynthia Criss. Cynthia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Happy to be here.
I watch a lot of reruns of 90s sitcoms, and one thing that's so present in them that just isn't today is real animals and actors acting with them, and you're kind of scratching your head like, was this all done ethically? I mean, that's maybe a different question to ask, but it was such a presence in TV and film for the last 100 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, animals have been in part of cinema since cinema's history, since cinema's prehistory. If you think about something like the photographer Edward Muybridge's images of horses, dogs, any animal that you can think of in motion to try to figure out, what is their gait. There's a whole story about Muybridge and why he started that series. But animals in motion, live animals on screen has been there since the beginning.
I mean, the greatest actor that ever lived may have been that dog in the sitcom Frasier, I gotta say. When you look at the industry, and it's probably different dogs, it probably wasn't all one same dog, but when you look at the industry today, are these animal actors disappearing? Are they being depicted by CGI animals? Is the number of animals that we use, whether fake or real, is it just decreasing?
Well, compared to a decade that you're talking about, like, the early 1990s, or let's say the 1950s, whatever, there's so much more media being produced right now, and that I would hesitate to quantify. But there is a big displacement of live animal actors with computer-generated ones, with ones that are created by, super talented, amazing visual effects artists. And this has been true. It's been a growing trend since about the, mid-1990s. Jurassic Park is a real breakthrough in that regard, where we start to see animals, or whether they're very, very realistic or whether they're quite imaginary, appearing in a really realistic aesthetic and in screens, and opting for those animals, those digital animals, instead of going to one of the Hollywood rental agencies and hiring a trained animal.
And for certain animals, like especially ones that aren't domesticated, like chimpanzees, or I think of velociraptors, it's very cruel to depict them on screen. I'm joking, of course, but when we think of certain animals, I think attitudes have changed. Like, it's not great to be kind of like using these animals in film. That's one thread of it. But for domesticated animals like cats and dogs who are, trained around us, know us, live with us, where I'm sure there are people that would consider that cruel. I'm not one of them. Why are these depictions dropping? Like, why aren't there dogs like Lassie or the dog from Frasier in TV as much?
Well, I think that there's a number of reasons for this. And one is that there has been a history of activism by groups like People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals against the use of animals in film and TV. So, productions risk, if accidents happen on the set, if anything bad happens, certainly risk garnering really, really unwelcome and negative, but deserve negative attention when that kind of stuff happens. And it does happen. Animals can be injured on set, and animals can even die on set. I remember reading an anecdote once from somebody who wrangled insects for film and TV, and she said, if there's a cockroach in my kitchen, I'm going to squash it. But if I take 1,000 cockroaches to a movie set, 1,000 cockroaches go home. And that's someone who's trying to practice, animal acting, animals appearing on screen in an ethical fashion, right? But I do think that we've become much more uncomfortable about seeing things like chimps, big cats, elephants in captivity and in this kind of situation.
That's where I completely agree. Like, I'm looking at Kramer playing with a chimp on Seinfeld in the 90s, and I'm thinking, what are you thinking? Like, this is, there's something off about this. But with a cat or a dog, maybe not. Those famous, like, credit things where it says no animals were harmed in the creation of this film or show, has it been historically accurate? Like, if I see that after an animal depiction, can I believe it from, like, an 80s movie or something?
Look, the record isn't perfect, and a number of years ago, the Hollywood Reporter did a big expose about some accidents that had happened on scenes that still got that stamp, right? And that should make us wary about what's going on in films where animals, especially so-called exotics, the big cats, the primates, and so on, appear. On the whole, yes, having observers on the scene who write reports about how the animals were treated is a very, very positive thing. And on the whole, I think that they've done real good for the industry, but it's an imperfect record.
CGI animals, they've gotten very good these days. And in some sense, like, for friendly interactions, great, you're not actually harming an animal. But they can also do things that no real animal could safely do, like fight, be tortured, killed. On the one hand, great, no animals are being tortured. But on the other hand, like, are these depictions what we should be showing people?
Well, that became a big concern of mine when I started thinking about this a few years ago for something that I wrote. And then, again, thinking about this issue recently because of a couple of films that I saw that re-sparked my interest in this question. Something like the Planet of the Apes series, right, where the violence gets really grotesque. Hand-to-hand combat, right? I virtual crucifixion scene in one of these films, it is really grotesque. Or something like Gladiator, I think it's Gladiator 2, where, there's digital rhinoceroses and other animals that are subjected to incredible violence. And no, I think it's numbing. It's not something that I want to see or that I think is particularly ethical. You can, these are things that we wouldn't do to a live animal on screen. And I'm not sure that we should do them to digital animals either.
I think I'm with you on that. I think it's nuanced, but I do think it just gives filmmakers like carte blanche to be brutal, and it's not something that all filmmakers should be taking. But in general, are you happy with this direction that, like, animal cruelty has gone down and most animal depictions these days are digital?
Well, again, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Like you suggested earlier, I'm not so uncomfortable with seeing a dog in a lot of places on screen or horses. Streaming media is full of costume dramas, right? Period pieces where horses are moving around in the background or, we're dashing off in our carriage. And I'm a lot less uncomfortable with that. That's work that those animals would probably be doing and have been doing for millennia, even if they weren't on screen doing it. But there are times when I think that there's a little something that's lost. And this has to do with the quality of the visual effects and what we tolerate, not, whether it should be digital or not. I mean, a film that I was really found very distracting was the remake of Call of the Wild from a few years ago, 2020, with Harrison Ford. First of all, it's a adaptation of the Jack London novel. It is absolutely not true to the book, which is a distraction to begin with. But also the digital dog, which was, there was some scanning from a real dog and a motion capture actor did some of the work. But a largely digital dog comes off kind of goofy. And if you've ever read Call of the Wild, you know that was really not London's intention. It's very distracting. You have a very grizzled Harrison Ford and a very goofy Lady and the Tramp kind of dog in the same scene, and it's a distraction.
Do you miss like these classic dogs, like the one from Frasier that I love so much? Do you miss these in sitcoms and stuff?
No.
Yeah.
Generally, I would say not. I think if you're going to have a dog, it it needs to be, and it's going to be digital. It's going to be done. It needs to be done very, very well. And this is something that I really liked about the new Superman. You know, I liked the dog in Superman. I'm not sure everybody did, but I liked the dog in Superman. There was, again, a dog that was scanned from the director's real life dog. And then, you know, made to do all these crazy things, just like the actor.
Well, Cynthia Chris is a media and culture studies professor at the College of Staten Island, CUNY in New York. Cynthia, thank you for joining me. I've enjoyed the chat.
Thank you, David. Pleasure to be here.
My name is Mickey Fox.
Friday, February 27th on Global.
I'm Sheriff of Edgewater.
For her, keeping the peace
Cartels moving in.
means every investigation.
People are getting threats.
It's close to home.
At the end of the day, I'm responsible for this town.
Secrets, loyalties, and small-town justice collide in the new hit drama.
I'm a damn good sheriff.
Sheriff Country returns Friday, February 27th on Global. Stream on Stack TV.